Here is the most recent picture that I have drawn of our hero of this chapter, and probably many more in the future of One Piece, Roronoa Zoro. If you like the drawing, folks, remember to follow me on all of the social networks.
One Piece Chapter 194, Cutting Steel.
Yeah, seriously, did that shit just happen?
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, Zoro picking up a fucking building. Yeah, did that just happen?
Yep.
Oh, okay, alright, hold on a second. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to cough in front of the camera, and also bring you another review on the tantalizing and epic, the action-packed, the heartwarming tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us, of course, with Nami defeating Miss Doublefinger, a bit of story progression at the palace, but ultimately Zoro and Mr. One, starting to commence their fight. Zoro saying that to beat you, I have to cut through steel, but I cannot cut through steel, and basically, it's saying that I am going to have to push myself to some next level shit. So that is how the chapter ended. That's how this one begins, and it's really kind of cool because it starts with the intimidation factor, the taunting thing. So Mr. One goes and he's just like, oh yes, and blah blah blah, no sword, I've fought many swordsmen and none have ever been able to even scratch me, And Zoro goes like, yeah, that's nice, you should get a photo album for your past accomplishments, but I don't really know how many swordsmen you fought, or where, or what kind, or who, but you've never fought me, or anyone like me before, So I really thought that was kind of cool, and then he's like, baldy, and he's kind of like, come at me type of deal, come at me, bro. So he entices Mr. One, induces him, into obviously coming at him, and he does, he comes at him, they kind of clang swords, or clang swords from, of course, Zoro, and arms from Mr. One, but we'll just call them swords because he can turn, obviously, any appendage into a sharpened edge. So they clang and clash, and it's kind of comical because he's just like, how much can you handle? And then Zoro's like, right back at you, bud. Like, all you can handle, bro. So they wind up going back and forth. There's a bit of, clang, 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 this and that for a couple of pages. And then through a series of one or two moves, it looks like Mr. One actually connects with Zoro and, winds up hitting him. Not wounding him grievously or anything like that, but definitely, makes some contact and hits him, knocks him back. And Zoro's kind of like, oh, fuck, So Zoro winds up going and then coming at him, and again, this is about probably halfway through the chapter of them kind of going back and forth a bit with, mostly just kind of parrying and blocking each other's attacks, looking for a weakness, as most great fighters or swordsmen or what have you will do. They obviously probe your opponent, especially when you're so evenly matched, for weaknesses or overmatched. Obviously that's how the underdog can win. Usually it is because they've analyzed the situation and they have found a weakness. They found a chink in the armor, so to speak. So I believe that's what Zoro's looking for here, because he still doesn't really know how he's going to cut steel. He just knows that he's going to go next level and cut it, or try to, or die trying. So Zoro then goes and pulls out a couple of his signature moves. He comes at him with the Oni Giri, and winds up going, whoosh, and going running right through him. It looks like, and then he goes and he does that tiger trap, just, and you just see him just smashed into the ground, Mr. One. And then they go and they show in the very next panel, the very next page, as you turn it, as Oda so likes to do with us. It's a page turner. You turn it, and he's just standing there, and he's just like, "See, I told you, you can't even make a scratch on me, And Zoro's thinking in his mind, he's like, Jesus, that's, and then he even goes and makes mention. He goes, yeah, that's pretty good because I flattened you, man, and you got up from it. Nobody's ever done that before. So then Mr. One goes and throws the shit right back, intimidation stuff right back in Zoro's face and says, yeah, you've never met anyone like me before, And so like I said, it's kind of a cool thing. Ultimately, it's this big kind of macho testosterone, whose dick is bigger type of, contest. But really, in a lot of ways, for me, this is about the progression of Zoro, going and just climbing up that ladder, climbing up that progressive ladder because of his ultimate goal to become the greatest swordsman in the world, the greatest swordsman that ever lived, that sort of thing. So that's definitely what I like as far as the progression of that goes. Now, then Mr. One goes and starts to, because now Zoro's starting to think, what the hell? So now he's starting to think and kind of inner monologue, like, what can I do? And while he's doing that, he's trying to block different attacks. And Mr. One comes at him with this thing where he holds his hands out like this, comes at him, and then he calls it like the daisy cut or the daisy spike, daisy blade, whatever. And all his fingers basically extend into blades, So now he's got like 10 blades, And Zoro's obviously blocking that, with his cool looking move with his 3-sword style. And there's a lot of good stuff going on as far as that. Again, it is just very action heavy, and really, I could have just went and said, yeah, this chapter was all about Zoro and Mr. One beating the living shit out of each other. And at the end, and then it could have been 30 seconds long, but I certainly like talking about and delving into some of these things. Just as far as their background, the passion, the tenacity that some of these characters have, I think it's really, really good. So, and it's done very well too, I believe, so it doesn't, it lets the spotlight be on these characters for this particular chapter, or maybe the next one after that, whatever the case may be for this period of time. You're only thinking about Zoro and his struggle, Zoro and his fight. So then he goes into this, flashback, where he's back and he's talking to his sensei, and he's talking about how some people can cut through steel, and kind of going back to that whole conversation he had with the sensei. So the sensei goes and he tosses this piece of paper up in the air, and he's like, watch this piece of paper. And he takes a sword and he goes, and the piece of paper just kind of whacks it. It doesn't cut it, and the piece of paper's on the ground. Now, a sharp sword should cut a piece of paper, right? So you're thinking, what the hell's wrong with this guy, man? What kind of sensei is this? No wonder Zoro's having problems cutting through steel. If you got a sensei like this, it can't even cut through paper. But the moral of the story and the whole thing is that he says there's people that can't even cut through a piece of paper, and those are the same men that can go, those are the same swordsmen that can cut through steel. A blade is no good if it just cuts everything it touches, right? You need to have a blade that can cut through what you want it to cut through. And I really like that whole theme and theory about things, because someone who had been in martial arts before, I'd never really been proficient or learned any type of weapons or anything like that, weapons training, but was always fascinated with different things, certainly about like samurais, the culture and everything like that. So, and just learning that throughout history and school and even beyond that, research and whatnot, always fascinated me. And it's really, really cool to think that when you become that level, at least in this story anyway, that your sword can selectively cut what you want it to cut. If something gets in the way that doesn't need to be cut, just needs to be whipped to the side, or just needs to be slightly wounded or knocked out, you can choose, you know what I mean? And maybe through a combination of the amount of force and really just your will that you exert. I don't really know exactly how it's explained, and I don't really care to explain it. I just know that it's a cool concept to think. Because, again, this is like this whole flashback, and Zoro kind of doesn't get it. And he still doesn't get it even when he comes out of the flashback. He has no idea what the sensei's talking about. So it's really kind of cool to see that even after all these years, it was a profound thing that the sensei told him, but he still just doesn't get, like, the true meaning of it, But ultimately, so what it is he comes out of this flashback, and he's just like, kind of like, I don't really know what that means. but what I'm going to do is I'm still going to keep trying to take it to the next level over here because I don't yet know how to cut steel. I still don't know how to cut steel. So then it goes, and the chapter winds up shortly after that. Again, they're fighting, they're going at it like cats and dogs, tooth and nail. But Zoro, and again, it's looking like Mr. One's going to start to get the upper hand on him, because he's like, every appendage of his, is a blade, is a sharpened blade. So I can't cut through steel. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? So then the chapter goes and it ends off, and he even says to him, I can't cut steel, or maybe he says it in like an inner monologue thing, but basically you're thinking, oh shit, well, what's he gonna do now, right? And this is the shit that really, really got me, that I was talking about at the beginning, to my other personality, is that he goes in, and I know I didn't see this one drawn wrong, okay, because I looked at it a few times, man. Zoro is over here, and the dude picked up a building. And here, it's right here at the end, and right here, to show you, so it can't be misconstrued as, oh yeah, Jim, you got it wrong, or you didn't pay attention and see the panel right. Zoro has picked up what appears to be the good amount of a frickin' building, and I mean, he's just, I don't know, man. It's really, it's. And then he even says, too, as he's picking it up, and I forgot about this, he says, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see me cut steel. And he's like, oh, really? Why? And he goes, because when I learn how to cut steel, that's the end of you. So if I know how to cut steel, buddy, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna make it out of here ever, okay? You're gonna be one of the few characters that does die in Oda's, in Oda's wonderful story here. And that's what I was thinking in my mind, But he goes and, like I said, he's got that building, and he's gonna freaking toss it at him, it looks like, man. I mean, it's great. Now, it's cool because he's just going and he's like, he goes and he does the whole thing, obviously Mr. One's just like, I'll dice everything in sight, And then he goes and, the cool thing is that, he says in his head, and he's like, a sword that doesn't cut anything, eh? And so he's trying to figure out this whole mystery and this what's going on. And again, it may be something that's so apparent that may just kind of slap me in the face. I have sort of some theories and some ideas on what it may be, but ultimately I'm going to wait for the next chapter or two for it to kind of shake out. So my chapter question, though, is that what do you think? What are your thoughts on Zoro picking up a building? I mean, this is some crazy next level shit, man. I mean, very, very cool. But man, I just did not expect from Zoro, to go from Zoro being the badass he is, that he already was, that I already thought of him as, to this dude just picked up a building, right? I haven't seen some shit like that since Arlong Park, when you had the fishmen who are 10 times as strong as humans, and Arlong picked up the building, that house. So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on that, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
I hope you hit that like button and that you also subscribe, my brothers and sisters.